There will be 4 questions. They were picked out of those that were submitted from folks ahead of the meeting and then provided to each candidate ahead of time. Each candidate will have 3 minutes or less to answer each question. Each candidate will answer each question. We'll start the first question with Teresa, then we'll go to Ted and work our way down that way. So each candidate has an opportunity to answer a question first. And then after that Q&A session, we'll close with each candidate having an opportunity to provide a closing statement, and they'll have 4 minutes or less. Now, a caution about timing. We expect each candidate to hold to the allotted time in fairness to each other, as well as in fairness to the audience. We have a timer who will signal 60, 30, 15, time to stop talking signals to help with the timing. And then on a personal note, since I live with the leader of North Fulton Dems, I have a very strong incentive to make sure you keep to your time limits and thus please my boss, since I'm going home with her and you're not. Thank you. And now for each candidate's introductions, we'll be sharing a mic, so we'll just have to be nice.
Thank you, Bruce. I'm Teresa Tomlinson. It's so great to be back here with you. Thank you. I'm an 8th generation Georgian. I was born and raised here in Atlanta, went to Chamblee High School, went to Emory University Law School, and practiced law here in Georgia. I've been in Columbus, Georgia for the past 24 years. But I want you to know, and I said I'm an 8th generation Georgian, 7 of those generations were in rank poverty from my ancestors who were sharecroppers, day laborers in central South Georgia. So I understand and respect the journey of Georgians from all over this state. I had the privilege of practicing law for 16 years in the federal court system. Had some of the biggest cases of that day, the ValueJet case, the DuPont Benlake case, some of you may remember, covered in the news, but taking on large corporations for people who were in desperate need of justice, and then served 2 years as the first woman mayor of Columbus, Georgia. Thank you. The chief elected officer, as well as public safety director, Homeland Security director, and I hold a national security secret clearance with the Department of Defense because I was the chief liaison with Fort Benning, which is the fifth largest military training base in the world. I also had the honor of being 6 times named to the Georgia 100 most influential Georgian list. And that didn't happen by accident. It's the basis of hard work. Columbus, Georgia was one of the 25 best run cities in the United States of America. And so as we go into this moment of time that we have, that we've worked so hard to beat David Perdue and reclaim this statewide Senate seat, we need to deliver a candidate that has the gravitas to stand on the stage with him and beat him. And I respectfully submit to you that I'm that candidate. I ask that you join Team Tomlinson and let's send David Perdue packing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, my name is Ted Terry. I'm the mayor of the city of Clarkston, Georgia. Clarkston is known as the most ethnically diverse square mile in America. Over 50% of our population is foreign born. We've been receiving refugees from 40 nationalities, speaking 60 different languages the last several decades. I have served as the director of the Georgia Sierra Club the last 3 years. Before that, I worked for the Georgia AFL-CIO as a lobbyist at the Capitol. And before that, I worked training candidates and working for candidates up and down the ballot here in Georgia since I moved here almost a decade and a half ago. As mayor, I have pushed forward a progressive agenda. I'm proud to say that I'm the most progressive mayor in Georgia. We were the first city in Georgia to decriminalize marijuana possession. We're the first city to enact a $15 minimum wage for our city employees. We've outlawed LGBTQ discrimination. We're the first city in Georgia to pass and now breaking ground on a tiny home neighborhood development, an effort to create more affordable housing options. And we even made Election Day a holiday, an effort to increase voter participation. I'm following the Abrams playbook. That is my theory of change for this election. We're not going to win this election by only catering to the small slice of the moderate middle. We need to talk to all voters. We don't need to be dragging voters to the polls this next election. We need to send them running to the polls to support candidates that stand with them on the issues. An aspect and a principle of my campaign comes out of a saying that was in the civil rights movement. And it went like this: don't tell me what you believe, show me what you have done, and then I will tell you what you believe. And I hope after the end of this evening and by the end of this campaign, you can tell me what I believe. Thank you.
Good evening, North Fulton Dems. Look at this turnout, right? So, I'm Riggs Amico. I live in West Cobb County, Georgia, and I look forward to the day when we see rooms like this in all the red counties and parts of counties all over the state. I had the opportunity and the great honor last year to be the Democratic nominee for Lieutenant Governor running alongside Stacey Abrams. It was an incredible experience. In about 10 months, I traveled through 150 of Georgia's 159 counties. This time I am absolutely determined to hit all 159. That's a lot of living rooms to sit in. And what I saw was that we have done so much of the work to change the state. We are so close to not just being a blue state, but a bright, shining blue that will set the standard for the South and the United States on what progressive policies and action really look like. But what I also saw is a little concerning on the economic front. Some of you know I grew up in the rural Ozarks. I went, studied politics in undergrad. The irony is, of course, not lost on me at this point. I did my MBA at the Harvard Business School, and for the last 16 years, I've been a business executive. So last year was my first time running for office. But while I'm new to politics, I am very familiar with how to create good jobs. I've created and saved thousands of jobs in the last 16 years. And what I saw traveling around Georgia that concerned me most is, I'm not sure this economy is working for everyone. You see, there are a lot of Georgians who watch the President and Senator David Perdue high-fiving about the stock market online, but they don't feel it. They feel like no matter how much they do what they're supposed to do, they're falling further and further behind in an economy that puts working families at a disadvantage. So I am going to build a campaign by, for, and about economic justice for working families to make sure everyone can live the American dream. And if we're lucky, we got 1.8 million votes last time. That's 400,000 more than David Perdue ever did. If we're lucky, we're going to do even more than that and send him packing this year. Thanks so much.
Good evening, everyone. Mayor Tomlinson, thank you. Mayor Terry, thank you. Sarah, thanks for being here. I suppose with just a couple of minutes to open, the first thing I want to say is thank you. Because a couple of years ago, none of y'all had any idea who I was. Tom Price had just been re-elected in Georgia's 6th District by 23%. I was 29. And when I got in that race for Congress, no one thought I had a chance. But then thousands of us, thousands of you, every single person in this room gave their hearts, blood, sweat, tears, not for me, but because this was the first front line in this new era. And I'll tell you, looking back on that race, I hold my head high. My heart brims with love and gratitude for all of you and everything that you did to help me. And now I am running to represent you in the United States Senate because I care. Because I cannot stand what is happening to our country. 7 years ago, I became the CEO of a now 28-year-old media production company, multi-Emmy award winning, that specializes in undercover investigations of organized crime, political corruption, war crimes, human rights abuses. I have a passion for fighting corruption and the abuse of power. This country today is afflicted by a deep corruption. As your senator, I will expose it, I will attack it, and I will root it out. Thank you.